This is the voice of Isaiah Phillips Akintola. You're listening to the Potter's Gate online broadcast. Well, for a while now, we've not been able to broadcast for several reasons. I've particularly been off the internet for a while. In fact, this broadcast is done through my phone. The quality of the sound may not be as good as we used to offer, but I hope that a few of the things that I would like to share this afternoon will actually bring perspective in terms of where we are in our journey with the Lord. In the next few months, precisely by May 11, I will be clocking 50, and so much has been gathered in terms of the dealings of God, experience, wisdom, challenges, failures, and all that. So I felt in my spirit that I need to share some of my experience briefly. All right, as the days draw closer, I felt I need to share some of my experience, some of my journey, some of my failures, things that I have observed in ministry, in life, in relationship. At least 50 is a point where you need to kind of have a break and look back, recount and observe and reappraise, how far you've come with the Lord. And so this is what I like to do with this. I call it a voice note. So I hope that the Father will grant me the grace to share, some of this experience and realities that I've been able to gather in my journey with the Lord, with His church, with His body, and in my general interaction with people. So this voice note is to share with you, the listener, some brief but important observations, experiences, and suggestions, all right, that will help to enhance, our interaction, our relationship, our journey, and and relationships, particularly in life. There are several things that, we go through in life. There are things that happens to us. There are things that the Lord allow to happen to us as part of, the development of our spiritual life, of our, mental capacity, of our, relationship that can help to build other people. So I'm of the opinion that there is nothing that happens to us in life without a direct involvement of God. Everything that happens to us, right, is because the Lord allowed it. Even the things that we ignorantly do are all part of God's divine sovereign hand. All right. So learning from our mistakes, learning from the things we've gone through in life, even when we've asked God for forgiveness, there are still a certain level of consequence that we will still have to deal with. And so, but all these are all part of what we need to begin to understand about the fatherhood of God that can really help to develop not just our own personal life, but the life of other people, particularly, members of the body of Christ who are really open and willing to learn from, the experience of others. I think these are some of the things the Lord has been really highlighting in my spirit. I was sharing some things this morning, even though I'd never had the opportunity to post them on Facebook. Facebook has been a platform where, I do a lot of posting in terms of what God is saying to me expressly. So you find a lot of short captions, all right, quotations, but those are very profound truth that has been, given to me, that have been shared, with me, that, I felt, okay, these are platforms where I need to just release these things. I try to do that too with Twitter, but Facebook has been a very good point. But one of the things that I felt I also need to begin to do is some of these short quotations and clips that we put on Facebook. I want to, translate them into audio voice, so we can just kind of expand on them a little bit, maybe give more life, give more body, give more perspective to some of the things that we've been talking about. So I'm going to be doing that. And but yes, on this voice note, I believe that it's going to help somebody out there that will be listening. It's going to help somebody that will be seeking direction. There are a lot of things that people go through that others may just be carrying the answer around without them even knowing. So if we begin to understand that our life is a solution, is an answer to other people's challenge or questions and and needs. This afternoon I was in the loo, and this it's like the Spirit of the Lord began to speak to me with regards to the concept of blessing, even though this is not my what I intend to share with you this afternoon. But let's just flow as the Spirit of the Lord will allow. Remember that this is a short voice note, so this is not going to be like my usual broadcast. This is just, at most, we're looking at 10-15 minutes, all right, to be able to at least pass across whatever information that the Lord will have me pass. So while I was in the bathroom, and the Lord was the Lord impressed this in my spirit, that when somebody bless you or you bless somebody, you've got to see the blessing beyond yourself. All right, the blessing is an impact that, all right, has a ripple effect in the life of other people. So, for example, if you bless me right now, all right, while that blessing, yes, may solve problems in my life, but indirectly, that problem, all right, that is solved in my life is to be able to also solve problems in the life of other people. So, every blessing reaches to the fourth, person, if you will. All right, you bless me, that blessing is going to reach somebody else, and that as that blessing reaches somebody else, is going to dovetail into other people's lives. So it's a ripple effect. A blessing is a ripple effect. At least if you're blessing someone who understand, all right, what it is to receive a blessing, and that person is able to put that blessing into effective use. Not someone who is selfish, obviously. All right, if somebody who is selfish gets blessed, that person wants to just keep everything to his or herself. But a true blessing, all right, riches, like the Bible says, riches to the fourth generation. So as one may look at it from a generational point, but in the immediate impact of that blessing, all right, it touches somebody's life. I can remember I think what drew this attention to my spirit was a neighbor of mine 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken, just came to me and said, look, he's in a very difficult position and he needs my assistant. And obviously it's a financial assistant. And I'm in a very, difficult position, if you will, financially too. But from what he was asking, I knew I could assist him. And doing that means that I will have to, basically depend on the Lord for, the next need. But because he was so pressed, I said to myself, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to help him. And after he left, what came to my spirit is, this is, something that I have been keeping for myself, particularly for my children, because you need to buy things on a day-to-day basis. But he comes desperate, in need, and I have that amount that he needs, that position to assist him, why should I hold it back? So I gave it to him, and I felt so good about it. And I felt the Lord, began to expand that in my spirit. So this morning, while I was just in the bathroom, the Lord brought back into my dropped that word again into my spirit and said, when you receive a blessing, never think of yourself alone. Think of other people that are going to benefit, from it. So this is an experience. This is something that, we may take for granted, but it is something that we need to consider and really, think about when we are blessing people. To know that we're not just blessing an individual, we're blessing a community. You may be blessing one person, but at the end of the day, a family might just be benefiting from whatever that blessing is. A community might be may be benefiting from it. And to me, that is something I would like to pass across, to us out there. If you're listening, all right, you're still listening to Isaiah Phillips on the Potter's Gate broadcast. This is what I call my voice note. And my voice note deals with my observations, experience, and suggestions that could assist or improve what we're doing as men, as women, as fathers, as mothers, as leaders in the church. Basically, this is just a short, words of wisdom that can really help us, empower us, and build us in whatever area of life that we might have been called to function. So I will be sharing along this line. There are a lot of things that I would like to talk about, but before I go, I would like to quickly highlight what I felt the Lord has dropped in my spirit this afternoon. I've already shared that on my Facebook timeline, and I was talking about, insecurity, all right? And I'd quickly like to just elaborate a bit on that before I call it an afternoon. Remember, this is just a short, brief words of encouragement, words of correction, if you like, words of development. Sometimes it may be even a words of rebuke, but remember, all this are to build us up, are to edify us. That is the purpose, that's the essence of this platform, to build the church, to empower the church of the third day, so that we can come into that position where we are approved, we are fully furnished, ready and prepared to do the work of ministry that has been given to us. So dealing with insecurity, and I was sharing that, look, where you have insecurity, you will have, unhealthy competitive spirit. Where you have insecurity, you have unhealthy competitive spirit. And this is something that is really tearing the body of Christ. It has caused a lot of damage in relationship, in the workplace, in business, and you won't believe it, even in homes, within couples. People find themselves in a situation where they become very insecure, and that insecurity begins to breed all kinds of spirit. Like you have your fear and pride and arrogance and anger, and mention it. So where you find insecurity, nothing good comes out of it. At the end of the day, such relationship, all right, is always bound for destruction. Where you have security, all right, it could even be a business, all right, that business will not go far. It could be, in terms of running, God's assignment, maybe a church, whatever it is, a ministry. If people are not secure, all right, it affects, it impacts the spiritual life, the community life, of the people. Things never works out well. And so these are some of the things I have noted, and I see this, all right, that is very, very rife, in particularly here in our nation, South Africa. It's all over. I mean, insecurity is a fallen human nature, but it's not pronounced in certain regions, certain communities than others. All right, if you're in a community where people tend to be more spiritual, people tend to be more alive, people tend to be more prayerful. All right, so it's easy to deal with that. In fact, it's easy to identify it and deal with it. But in an environment where, all right, humanism is promoted, okay, where the issue of it's my right, and we want to go the way of of the world system. It's very difficult to even identify, because people tell you, well, I need to take care of myself before I take care of other people. So where we look towards self and we consider self first, okay, becomes a breeding ground for all kinds of satanic, devilish, sensual spirit to operate. And that's why you discover that, places like the West and Europe today are really, people are going through all kinds of issues and suffering, and basically I've been isolated, and I'm talking about family unit now. Okay, if you look at it from the government level, you may say, well, these are countries that are advanced, they're rich, they're prospering. But if you look down to the micro life, to the unit life of the people, a lot of people are afraid. They are isolated. They're going through all kinds of issues, and that's why you discover that things like suicide is very rife. The people, cannot live, because you have destroyed, what keeps the power of community together. All right. And one of it is because, things like insecurity is promoted even from a national, point. So we need to look at this, and consider it, and make sure that our life is not a life that is driven by insecurity. All right. Maybe tomorrow, by the grace of God, I will highlight for us what are the causes of insecurity and how to deal with it. Because to me, I believe that we cannot build a prosperous nation, we cannot build an effective family system, we cannot build a productive community, a productive ministry church, if we are harboring insecurity. Because insecurity will produce pride, will produce fear, will produce doubt, will produce mistrust, will produce unhealthy competition. Insecurity, all right, will make you kill your brother. That's what we saw with the life of Cain, who killed his brother because he was insecure. So we have to find a concept of biblical principles. We have to look for biblical principle to deal with the issues of insecurity in our lives, in our homes, in our family, in our career, in our business. All right, where we deal with insecurity, you can be rest assured that there'll be productivity. It's only a matter of time. So this is my thought for the day, and you've been listening to my voice note on the Potter's Gate online broadcast. My name is Isaac Phillips Akintola. If you like this voice note, please share it and distribute the link. Talk about it. Give me a comment. Just do something. Let me know that this word has been a blessing to you. Have yourself a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.